We're going to talk about my favorite things. Let's go. Okay. You want to start a book club, but you're not sure how. You could join one, you could start one, you could put your kids in an online one. There are lots of ways to do this. I'm going to walk you through how I would do this if I did this with my own kiddos in person. We do have other options, and we're going to talk about those in just a second as well. But there is a story behind this. I'm going to tell it to you, and I'm going to then walk you through each of these steps and show you how to pick a book, how to space it out, time it, and what we include in every single meeting. Quick story. I used to teach in a classroom. I taught middle schoolers. I taught little kids. There's never enough time for the amount of conversation and discussion that's meaningful that you really want. Sure, you could check off a few boxes, but there's never enough time. This is where, as homeschoolers or as traditional schoolers who are looking to put more emphasis on this and actually take the time to do that, we can do it. There are different ways that we can do this, and we're going to do it through book clubs, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So before we get rolling, I'm Melissa. Hi, I'm a homeschooling mom of 4. I'm an online teacher. We've been doing this for at least about 10 years now, and it's been a really good way to help our kiddos really digest what they're reading and become readers, okay? They enjoy reading. They pick up a book when they're not doing anything, when they're bored, and they are transported. They're learning different things. They're curricular connections being made. This is the secret sauce, I believe, of homeschool. And so being able to put these things together in a book club brings in the social aspect as well. So when your tween starts getting a little angsty, there is the social aspect there that we're using to politely add in an element of social pressure because, hey, the cool kids are doing it too. We're all doing our reading. We're all enjoying this conversation as well. And by golly, I'm going to do my reading too so I can show up and hang out with my friends. All right, let's get going. So here's the process to start a book club. So depending on your kiddo's age, you're gonna choose the right book for them, okay? I'll leave that up to you. But the first idea is to pick a book. Where do we find books to choose? Books that are worthy to be read aloud or studied or dug into in depth. I love starting out with the Newbery book list. Every year there is a winner and there are honor books. And you can find those online. There are lists. I'll link one below as well. So you can check out the books that have been given the prize this year. But being able to pick quality books is fantastic. So for your really young kids, 4, 5, 6, those might be good read alouds for them. For your kind of middles, maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, those might be good guided reading or independent reading books. And then for our middle, upper middle, and high schoolers, you're going to want to find things that are connected to their interests, find things that are connected to other things they're learning. History is a great thing to connect on, that sort of thing. And you can find those on other book lists as well. I'll link some of my favorites below. But the idea is to pick a book that is accessible to your kids. The second one is to figure out the duration and scheduling. So again, use your discernment. If you've got an hour while your kiddos are eating lunch or less or more, and you're reading aloud during lunch, fantastic. Maybe you'll get through 3, 4 chapters in that time. But if your kiddos are reading independently and they've got a week to read and do their work, maybe we're looking at 5 or 6 chapters, depending on the length. Again, use your discernment, figure that out. For our book clubs that we run here at Curio, they tend to be, 5, 6 chapters. Again, if they're longer chapters, there'll be 4 maybe per week. But we're breaking it down, aiming to finish up the book around 7 weeks, right? We want to make sure this doesn't drag on forever. Especially, this always happens. If a kid was like, I loved it so much, I finished it. And they read it in one sitting or they read it in 1 week, right? It gives away the ending, stuff like that. We don't want to drag it on forever. So make sure it's a realistic timeline that helps them kind of marinate in it, but also doesn't drag it on forever. Finally, figuring out what is included in your book study. I always like to include a little genre study. We're going to talk about that in just a second, as well as a printable kind of workbook that they can write down their ideas in. We're practicing daily writing. We're learning new vocabulary. We're really digesting and even making this creative. It doesn't just have to be, fill in the blank answers or match the vocab words. We're having them draw a picture of the setting that they saw. We're having them react to a situation or kind of show what they would do next, make a prediction through a drawing or through writing in their printable book study. So I like having that option. That may not be something that you want to do. Also, for tweens and onward, I think an analytical essay is a good idea here. I tend to do two. I assign two for each of our book studies at Curio. If you want to do just a cumulative one near the end of the book, we're looking at kind of working up to that 5-paragraph essay, having a really good hook and thesis, 3 main points using text evidence, citing that text from the book, encouraging them, even though they almost never do, to use post-it notes so that later on their future selves will thank them. Because, I remember this amazing quote from chapter 4, and now we're on chapter 40, and I don't have to go searching back through. A fantastic one, also something that we've discovered on Libby. If anybody uses the Libby app, you can search for a particular word, and it will, kind of like in a Word doc or a Google Doc, search and find a certain word, and it will take you through finding those quotes. So if you didn't use the post-it notes, you can use the Libby app to find your quotes if you've got them in mind. So I think those 3 aspects are really important. Some sort of genre study, some sort of printable kind of thing that they're grappling with weekly, and then some idea of a cumulative project, be that an essay or maybe a presentation or a dramatization or something that kind of wraps it up and helps them produce some sort of work from it. Now, in each of our book study meetings, we've finished the reading, right? Throughout the week, we've read our 4 to 7 chapters about, and we're coming together in a meeting. So if this is our, in-person book club, maybe somebody's in charge of a snack, right? Like your typical book club for adults, right? But we're coming together. We are discussing this thing that we've seen. Okay, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's in ours so you can kind of copy it if you want or add and subtract if you need. But there are 3 things that are kind of pillars of connection that definitely need to be included when it comes to a book study. Okay, I'm going to use little hand motions so you can copy them with your littles if you want, or with your tweens who love it. They secretly love it. They really do. But they might not want to do it. So it's creating that culture of participation, but it connects the mind and the body as we do it. So the first one is text to self. Text to self. So text, right? We're teaching them. That's the book that you read or that was read to you. And we're going to connect it to ourself. So maybe the character in the book had a birthday party. Have you had a birthday party before? Was your birthday party similar to this one or different? How was it different? How was it similar? Would you do something different for a future birthday party? Or would you like to kind of take some of the elements of this birthday party and incorporate it into yours? Whoa, so much connection that we can get out of one little event in the book. Okay, text to self. The second one is text to text. Repeat it, text to text, okay? So we're comparing this book, this text, to another text we read. I love it when this happens in our Curio Newberry Book Club because it's kind of circling back to the books that we just read. For example, we read The Last Quantista, which is kind of like a sci-fi dystopian type thing. And then we read The Giver, which is also dystopian, but it's not on another planet. It's still Earth. And so we're able to compare, okay, these elements of sci-fi, this like kind of purification of genetics, but also what that could look like in space with The Giver and Last Quantista. So we're seeing kids kind of make these connections between 2 texts. Super duper helpful. This is always something that comes up in these more advanced literature classes later on. So if we can get them doing it as a tween, that is awesome. Last one is text to world, right? Text to world. So the world is anything. It's the news. It's a movie. It's something that happened in your neighborhood that you're not really related to. It's not text to self, but it's like, oh, I heard about this thing that happened, and it's kind of similar to this thing in the book. Right? For example, in Bud Not Buddy, Christopher Paul Curtis's book, it's a historical fiction book. It's really funny. It's a little bit realistic in the sense that like this kid is going through some really hard things, but he's encountering some really kind people along the way. So text to world, we saw kids making connections to like different maps that they've seen or Google Maps. So the kid in the book, for example, goes to a library and gets an estimation of how much time it will take for him to walk from one city to another. Kids said, oh, text to world. I've seen Google Maps do that when my parents are looking for directions, right? So we're having them kind of bring together like this tech from now and this tech from the 20s. And so they're being able to make those connections. Now, I did promise to tell you what we do in our book club each week. Okay, without fail, here's what happens in a Curio Newberry book study. Again, this is an online class, so kiddos will join the class, and I incentivize them to get there a little bit early. They're not coming in 10 minutes late, they're coming in 2 minutes early because I always play music. That is slightly related to something that we're going to talk about today in class. And so I got this idea from a cognition professor that I had in college, and he used to play music. And so we would come in and listen and go, okay, he's playing the song, and it's talking about like memories of the past, memories of this thing that they did. Oh, we must be talking about memory today. And so we would have to kind of decipher it. It gets you super centered in what's happening right now. You're not thinking about what happened 5 minutes ago. You're not thinking about, what you had for breakfast that you wish you didn't have or whatever, right? We're focused on class right now. Then we always start the, 7 meetings or whatever with a genre study. I want to center kids in what they're about to read. For a lot of our students, they've read, fun books, kind of silly books, but now we're getting into more, dare I say, serious books, books that have themes that are important for them to recognize. And we're starting to kind of weave those threads throughout the literature that they've seen. They're growing up in these books, and I want them to start to identify different genres. So we always start with a genre study. I tend to use Nearpod for these. I think it's fun. It's interactive. I can bring in videos. I can add questions throughout those videos. I can do VRs. I can add games. We always do like a drawing contest at the end. I'll get to that in a second. So there are lots of things that I can use Nearpod for and other online tools. So we start with a genre study. And then we're assigning their homework. And so they're going to start reading after that first session. That way they go in knowing, okay, here's what is expected of me. My classmates have this buy-in that we're all excited to read this thing. We are going to read it and we are going to do our work. This is what's going to happen next class. And next meeting, again, I play the music. Might be a little bit different. There's kind of a warm-up question reflecting on what we're going to talk about that day. If you could play a brass or a woodwind instrument in a jazz band, what would it be and why, right? That connects to our Bud Not Buddy study, and we're able to kind of say, oh, I feel like I identify with this character more, or, oh, this feels like a leader role, or, oh, I'm not musical at all, but I kind of like to sing a little bit, so maybe I'll be the vocalist, that sort of thing. You learn about each other. We're creating that community. Okay, then moving into all of the discussions, right, and a wrap up. Now, throughout this, I'll bring in extra Nearpod lessons that focus on character development, that focus on theme. When we start to assign these essays, I tend to assign one in the middle of the book and one at the end of the book. We'll go over in-text citations. We'll go over what makes a good thesis. And so being able to have these kind of timeout moments, once we finish the reading and the discussion for the week, we're moving into these more academic topics where we're trying to make sure, hey, do you feel equipped for what you're going to do with this essay? Okay, so having these different things and then wrapping it up with another Nearpod lesson. Again, summarizing the book, a little friendly competition with Time to Climb. This is like a gamified quiz in Nearpod. Nearpod is free, by the way. I'll go ahead and link that playlist here. Fantastic tool for homeschoolers. And if you're a classroom teacher by any chance, that is a great thing that you can ask your school about. You can use it for free as an individual. But if you want something bigger, you're welcome to ask your school about it. You guys, it is a fun thing. I think this is, again, the secret sauce of homeschool. You're creating these readers who are really hungry for stuff that they enjoy. And once they kind of experience books they love, books they were like, it was okay, they start to develop their own tastes and they become these more advanced readers, right? This is what we want for them. If you would like to join us in our Curio Newberry book study, I will leave a link to that below. At times there are promotions, so it's really fun to take advantage of those if it helps your homeschool financial situation. I hope that is the case. We look forward to seeing you in there if that is something that's helpful for your 9 to 13-year-old. There may be a high school option by the time you see this, but that is in the works. And if you're interested in that, please leave a comment below so that I can get you the information when our beta group gets started. You guys, if nobody's told you yet today, thank you. Thank you for doing what you're doing. It's really important. Happy teaching.